In 2012, while most considered Dwight Howard to be the best center in the NBA, Andrew Bynum wasn't too far behind. In fact, ESPN's lead NBA analyst David Thorpe claimed that Bynum was, quote, the closest thing to the new big fundamental we've seen since Duncan. In an age where pick-and-roll bigs were dominating, the old traditional post-up big man was fading out of existence. But when Bynum came into the scene, he revived this style. His style of play was a throwback to the 90s. Rough, physical, tough, phenomenal footwork, utilizing his size and frame to his maximum potential. Getting drafted at 17 years old, at the time of the 2005 draft, he was the youngest player to ever get drafted in NBA history. As expected, it took several years for Bynum to truly develop, to become the monster he ultimately became. Though, unfortunately, that dominance he displayed was only for a short period of time. Despite his stellar play, he never seemed to have that it factor. The Lakers were hoping he would take over as Kobe's career came to a close, but Bynum never had that same level of motivation. He didn't have that mindset. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and let's take a look at how good Andrew Bynum truly was at his absolute peak, and all of his shortcomings that led to his downfall. Plus, you can't forget his devastating injuries. They were eventually career-ending. You know, it always sucks to see basketball players or other athletes of all levels witness their dreams shatter in the case of a serious injury or accident. It especially sucks when you're younger and the costs of surgery or rehab are overwhelming for you and your family. But at Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, they're here to help. Instead of spending hours upon hours visiting law offices or sitting through consultations, you can submit a claim with Morgan & Morgan in 8 clicks or fewer. In fact, you can do it all from your phone. Submit all of your documents and get connected with your own personal injury attorney. The best part is, there are no upfront costs or sign-up fees. You only pay if they win the case. If you lose, you don't pay anything. Being such a massive firm, Morgan & Morgan has all the resources to help you, with over 100 offices nationwide and over 800 local lawyers, with 24/7 customer support if you have any questions. If you submit a claim, you don't just get a lawyer assigned to your case. You get a dedicated legal team, case investigators, paralegals, and customer case specialists all focused on maximizing your settlement. If you're ever injured in an accident, you can submit a claim at www.forthepeople.com/AndyHoops or by dialing #law. That's #529 on your phone. The biggest obstacles Bynum faced early in his career were injuries and his own immaturity. That's kind of a given, considering how young he got drafted. But with a plethora of knee injuries, including a torn MCL, meniscus, knee bruises, and multiple arthroscopic surgeries, Bynum missed a ton of games. As a youngster, the times were rough. When he did play, however, he showed a level of toughness and rugged interior play that helped define the Lakers' identity during this era. While Kobe was obviously the main superstar, it was the Lakers' size and length that made them true contenders, as they were always the #1 or #2 rebounding team in the entire league with Bynum as the anchor. Bynum was actually their starting center for both of their championships in 2009 and 2010, but he didn't have as much of an impact as you would think. His minutes were very limited. Phil Jackson preferred to finish games with Gasol as the center and Lamar Odom at power forward. There was still a lack of trust in Bynum to close out games. He would still make silly mistakes here and there, commit a stupid foul or miss a box out or get blitzed in the pick and roll on defense. All of this was due to inexperience. However, everything came together in the 2011-12 season. This was the first and only season of his career where Bynum became an all-star and made the All-NBA second team. With Lamar Odom no longer on the team, the Lakers fully committed to playing 2 7-footers in their front court for the entire season. Bynum's minutes skyrocketed to a career-high 35.2 minutes a game. His points and rebounds were also a career high, and he was the most efficient scorer on the entire Lakers roster. Most importantly, it finally looked like he got it together. Years upon years of injuries and inconsistent play culminated in this one season, where he elevated to new heights. At just 24 years old, Bynum's back-to-the-basket game was excellent, more refined than any other center in the league. There was a sizable subsection of the fanbase who believed Bynum to be the best center in the entire NBA. While Dwight Howard held that title for several years, this was when his critics were louder than ever. Dwight's postgame had nothing on Bynum. His footwork and dexterity in the paint did not compare to Bynum at all. Bynum, on the other hand, was so much more polished offensively. I'm not saying he was ever better than Dwight as an overall player, but he got a lot more respect from centers of the past, just because his game was, in their minds, how a center should play. Bynum was a bruiser with a touch of finesse. He had a soft touch at the rim, and he knew how to use his size to his advantage. He led the Lakers in multiple advanced stat categories, like win shares per 48 minutes and points per possession. One thing that gets glossed over is how hard Bynum worked to get to this point. He spent many years under the tutelage of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Bynum spent every offseason tirelessly training to improve. I think, in hindsight, we have this image of Bynum being a lazy player who didn't care much about injuries or basketball in general, and that he got by on his sheer size and talent. That's far from the truth. You don't come back from multiple knee surgeries by being lazy. Bynum spent so much of his younger years rehabbing to get back and to prove to the organization he deserves to be here. Keep in mind, when he got drafted in 2005 with the 10th pick, this was the year after Shaq's departure. The Lakers needed a big man to fill the void, and oh, those are some really big shoes to fill. Bynum had high expectations right off the bat, and it took many years for his dreams to come to fruition. This season was a culmination of all of his hard work. Not just that, but he was also the perfect fit on this team. Gasol's superb passing ability allows for a devastating high-low action between him and Bynum. According to this ESPN article, quote, "Although Mike Brown's offense used more pick and roll than the triangle did, Bynum has rarely been used in that regard. All the work that Bynum has done over the years with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has paid off, and he's become perhaps the best back-to-the-basket scorer in the NBA." Bynum continued to improve as the season progressed. Bynum has put up 5.4 WARP, or wins above replacement player, since the All-Star game, a number beaten by just 4 players in the league: Chris Paul, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Kevin Love. Howard is at 5.1, and the gap will only grow larger over the last week of the regular season. That's super impressive to be put in the same category as those guys. Post All-Star break, he was killing it, averaging over 21 a game, 11 boards on incredible efficiency. Despite his individual success, there were times when you can tell his immaturity comes out when he gets frustrated. Remember that infamous three-pointer he took out of nowhere with 16 seconds left on the shot clock? He got benched immediately after this. It was moments like these that make you realize he's still developing. He still needs to grow up. After the Lakers suffered an early exit in the playoffs again, with Bynum playing poorly again, they decided they were tired of waiting. They pulled the trigger on a blockbuster deal, a 4-team trade that sent him to Philly, and in return, they got Dwight Howard, the guy he's been compared to for so long. There was more to Bynum's departure behind the scenes. It seems like he's never had a great relationship with Kobe Bryant. With both guys coming out of high school, you'd imagine there's some sort of connection there, with Bryant taking him under his wing and guiding him as he got older. However, as Bynum got better and better, he felt like Kobe stunted his growth by using too many possessions, by taking too many shots. This is what Bynum said on his experience playing alongside Kobe. "I thought it really helped me a lot obviously at first. Because he draws so much attention, it's hard for guys to double team and key on you, so it helped me tremendously. Later, I felt I was able to get the ball more and do more things with the ball, so I could definitely see how it could stunt growth." Bynum might have had a point. This was his best season in LA, and he only took 13 shots a game, compared to Kobe's 23, despite being far more efficient than Kobe. Of course, it's partly due to Kobe drawing double teams, and Bynum was susceptible to turnovers when he got pressured in the paint. That was a major flaw of his. Even with his scoring prowess, he never developed his court vision or passing out of the paint. If the ball went to Bynum, it wasn't coming back. He was gonna try to score at will. His defense was another matter of discussion. While he wasn't bad by any stretch, he didn't have the same athleticism as a Dwight Howard or even DeAndre Jordan. Bynum relied on his positioning, and there were times he'd lose focus and miss his guy completely. But at just 24 years old, he still had plenty of time to improve, right? Well, with his arrival to Philly, the expectations were sky high. This was his time to prove he could play without Kobe and elevate his game even further to the next level, to superstardom. Sadly, that would never happen. Apart from the infamous bowling injury, where he tweaked his knee shortly after surgery, Bynum's health quickly deteriorated even before that. He got multiple shots in both of his knees to combat his arthritis. It wasn't too long after when Philly discovered he had a degenerative knee condition, meaning he'll never return back to full strength. At one point, the Sixers suspected there was some foul play involved. Perhaps the Lakers knew about Bynum's degenerative condition, but failed to reveal it prior to the trade. Nothing came out of this though. After multiple setbacks and another arthroscopic surgery, it was clear he would never play a single game for Philly. Despite his attempts at a comeback, this was pretty much the end of his career. Anyway, that's all folks. So how good was Andrew Bynum actually? Good enough to be the second best center during his peak, with an argument to be the #1 center going by certain metrics. However, with his immature antics, plus his injuries and inability to recover, his prime lasted all but one season. It was very short, but it was an incredible season for a young man who finally looked like he got it all together, just for his career to come to an end shortly after. You know, a part of me does not blame him for taking it easy and not taking his injury in Philly too seriously. He spent so much of his youth, so many years in LA in his younger days just rehabbing all the time. He got injured so much that it must have taken a huge toll on him, especially for a teenager. I think as his career progressed and after getting traded to Philly, he just stopped caring. He made a lot of money and he just wanted to enjoy himself. It also forced the Sixers to go into a complete rebuild. Without Bynum, they had no chance of going anywhere, so they started the process. It worked out for the better. Let me know your thoughts on Andrew Bynum. Do you guys also remember that one season where it looked like he was so freaking good and he was on his way to becoming a superstar until it fell apart? It was definitely a super exciting time. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.